So thanks for the time and thanks for the invitation. One thing that I was thinking about as I was coming to this event and chatting with some folks, and I had the privilege of meeting many of you already, is this is probably, I got appointed at the end of 2024 into my role. So I've been sitting in this position for just under 2 years, and I start to see the same people in every room I enter. Not this one, however. I think there was only about 2 folks that I recognized, and that occurred to me, and it struck me that there's a strong intersection between hospitality and economic development, and we're underutilizing that relationship. And so I hope that this is just the beginning of building of that relationship and doubling down on those opportunities. And we'll talk about some of that here at the end. And this is kind of I'm going to go through some things with you all. And then if you have questions, please be thinking about those, because I'm happy to answer those as we go through, or at the end, we'll have a little bit of time. So first things first, what's the purpose of the Economic Development Department? Our mission is to create pathways for prosperity for all New Mexico families. And what does that look like? Well, one of the key metrics that we've been tracking and that has recently been announced is that New Mexico sits as the #1 state for family income growth. And that is a primary reason of what we do. And it drives it contributes to our North Star as we move through our work. And how do we do this? Well, I don't think I've documented every single program that we have quite yet, but there are many of them. And one of the things, I hope we don't have any legislators in the room, that I share with our legislative friends is, let us focus on what's meaningful. Don't always give us more. Let's double down and contribute and invest in the most critical aspects. However, as was mentioned earlier, one of the key new initiatives that was established in 2025 was the Strategic Site Readiness Initiative. And the purpose of that is one of the biggest things. I think we lose about 1/3 of deals, companies or employers coming to New Mexico, because we don't have sites ready for them to build, or we don't have just ready industrial manufacturing sites for employment growth. And so this opportunity creates that pathway for success. So far, we're only about a year into that program. We've characterized 65 sites, with 26 of those being designated as strategic. And one of the other initiatives that was established is through our Senate Bill 170. We call it utility pre-deployment. We can't have all of these new buildings and infrastructure, whether it's housing or manufacturing, without power or energy. And so utility pre-deployment allows for 2 mechanisms. One, investor-owned utilities can speed through the regulatory process through the Public Regulation Commission. And then second, it provides funding mechanism for rural electric co-ops so they can deploy infrastructure quickly through a public project revolving fund. One of our other key initiatives that we have, and this is one of our staple programs, is called the Local Economic Development Act, LEDA, as commonly referred to. This, we call it our closing fund. So we've brought companies like Castilian or Project Ranger, which will bring 300 jobs, have a 10-year economic impact of $659 million, and that costs the state $10 million to incentivize that company to come here. In total, I have about 4 companies to talk here, but the total, almost $2 billion of economic impact over 10 years because of these companies, and it cost the state just shy of $20 million. One of our other staple programs is the Job Training Incentive Program. This provides reimbursement to employers who are skilling up or providing new training for hiring new employees. So if there's a company that's expanding or growing employment, they can apply for this. And it's 50% to 90% reimbursement, depending on some of the metrics, primarily being rural communities and the types of jobs that are being employed. And to date, just in the past fiscal year, which ends here in a couple weeks, we've deployed $19 million supporting the creation of 1,300 jobs with an average wage of $28.40 an hour. Next, it was also discussed that back in 2025, which was just a wild session, and I had only been in my role for 3 months, so I had to understand how to operate the agency, 75 FTE, $28 million, but also go and advocate successfully for all of these programs to get implemented and established. It was a very fun time and a lot of growth. But one of those new programs also was the establishment of the Technology and Innovation Office at the department. That, and you may have been hearing a lot about this. If you're hearing anything about quantum or Roadrunner Venture Studios or innovation hubs, whether it's in Santa Fe or Albuquerque, that's being driven by this new division. And the legislature has seen it to double down on that investment this past year. So come July 1st, here in a couple weeks, the legislature has provided the department another $200 million to deploy for anchoring that ecosystem in New Mexico and bringing those jobs here. And part of the way that works is with an innovation hub, for example. We worked with Roadrunner Venture Studios to establish the Quantum Venture Studio, and they will provide low-cost rent, effectively, for quantum research infrastructure here. So that means companies that exist currently and that are doing research in, say, the East Coast or Northeast Coast, where there's a lot of this innovation is happening, they don't have anywhere else to go to test. And if they do, it's very expensive. So what we do is provide a low-cost opportunity to attract those companies here so they can experiment here or test and then ultimately extract ideas out of our universities and commercialize them and then ultimately spin them out of these innovation hubs to then create that work and those jobs locally. And here's some more specifics on that. One of the other key opportunities here that this is signaled, and this is not in the presentation, and there's no formal announcements yet, but I think it's really exciting to share, is because of the investments where New Mexico is leading in all of this space from this past legislative session, the federal government has caught wind of what we're doing in New Mexico and is now talking with our national labs that are here, which are strategic assets, to put billions of dollars in quantum, AI, advanced computing, advanced technology research here, which means there's this ecosystem. I like to think that we're just trying to catalyze this, and we're really just the push. We're pushing the stone up the mountain right now. But once we get to the top, we're starting to see where those supports are coming. It will create a cycle here for positive. Additionally, some of our other programs we have include the Outdoor Recreation Division, which has 2 primary programs. One is the Trails Plus program, which helps build trail infrastructure or anything outdoor recreational infrastructure related. So for example, the village of Los Lunas, we granted $50,000. This connected a pollinator garden with the Griegos lateral acequia. And that's just one example. We're working on building a map of all of these projects so we could see them and you could see them where they exist in your communities in this region. One of the other economies and economic sectors that we're looking at and the legislature created about 3.5 years ago was the Creative Industries Division. And creative economies impact about $6 billion in New Mexico annually, which is an untapped and probably underutilized, undercharacterized opportunity for job creation and economic impact. And so we're rolling these programs out. To date, we've issued 20 grants totaling $2 million, and we'll have about the same for next fiscal year, starting in July. We also wrapped up a series of creative convenings throughout the state, with the final one wrapping up it was 2 weekends ago in Albuquerque, where we were able to share the message of what creative industries is making throughout the state. And a lot of great conversations, and I anticipate a lot more ideas coming from that in this upcoming legislative session. We also have the Film Office, which is one of the, I think that's probably one of our most fun divisions that we have. With the economic assessment, they have two primary programs as well, but 3 purposes. So one of them is administering the film tax incentive film credit, tax credit. And the other one is FCAP, which is similar to our job training incentive program, but specifically for the film industry. And then the third purpose that I would say they have is to be out, gain attention for New Mexico, bring films, productions, and producers to New Mexico. And I can tell you, I approve their travel. They are traveling a lot and throughout the world to bring those productions to New Mexico. We also have our food and agriculture program, which has been gaining some significant steam. The idea with this program is really to find and fill gaps in food systems across the state. And actually, last year, we had our inaugural food conference here at this venue. And it was a great opportunity to see. But those are growing. Year to date, we've awarded $1.5 million in grants to New Mexico companies, and this could be for anything from a tractor to a refrigerator to equipment. Whatever is that thing that fills the gap. One of the other things that I'll mention here is the Secretary and I have been chatting about other opportunities to help fill these gaps in some funds that we have somewhat latitude over to pilot programs. And so we're always looking for ideas for piloting, and then ultimately asking the legislature to make maybe a permanent or double down to see if they could work stronger. And we're coming up kind of toward the end here, and I wanted to make sure that when I was preparing for this, I wanted to make sure that there was something actionable and meaningful for this group. Because traditionally, economic development incentives at our department don't typically fit the box of hospitality traditionally. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to share something that could be leveraged by this group. And so there are actually two programs. The first one is the SSBCI. Well, they're both SSBCI. One is called the Collateral Assistance Program. And effectively, this is for anyone that's a business owner and you're looking to acquire commercial real estate for your business. So I've met a lot of landscapers and maintenance folks. If you need a facility with land, this program is for you. And the way it works is instead of going through SBA financing, which could be a lot of hurdles. I've helped many businesses close loans with SBA, and I understand how that goes. Or you're lacking down payment going through traditional financing, where a lender may need 15 to 30% down payment. That is an obstacle. What CAP allows for is you work with one of our qualified lenders, minimum 10%, but you have to go through the lender, and you have to be pre-qualified and financeable. But the department actually takes out a CD as collateral in case something happens. But after 2, 3, 4 years, maybe 5 years, once you pay the debt and you show that you're a good steward of those funds, ours falls off. We get to recycle that money and give it back to another business, all while helping you stand up your business, get your real estate under control, and keep your business flow moving. Oh, also one other thing that I'll mention on this CAP program that is not really covered here is that program actually to a limited extent can be used for small investments. So if you wanted to buy, it's a maximum loan amount of $500,000, but it could work for a small shop space, small industrial space, for lease. It could even be used for apartments. And then the second program, this one sits with the New Mexico Finance Authority. It's called the Loan Participation Program. And there are kind of two pathways, but they work similarly. Instead of us backing the loan, kind of like the CAP program, NMFA will actually take out their own position on the loan and be a secondary financer. So if you went to one of your preferred lender, that's one of our partners, they'll have the majority of that, say 51% or more. NMFA will take out a loan for the difference, therefore reducing the risk on the lender, making you more financeable. We're able to close more deals with this, keep pipeline going. I wanted to bring this one up, especially for this group, because I also sit on the NMFA board, and actually I'm headed up to Santa Fe right after this because we have a meeting. But we've approved hospitality venues with loan participation. So for renovations or acquisitions, this is a tool that can be used by this group. And let's see, there were a couple other things I wanted to cover. Oh, one thing that wasn't on this presentation is, we also have the new Trade Ports Development Act that I didn't really talk about, but that is going to be strategic infrastructure around trade ports. We anticipate that we'll deploy trade ports in the Bernalillo County area, Albuquerque-Bernalillo County area, southern New Mexico, and maybe a handful of places throughout the state as well. But that's going to be transload facilities and logistics hubs in these areas, which should be a service to everything else that we're building here. One of the other things that occurred to me, I got to spend the weekend, this past weekend in Taos with one of the venture capital funds that the State Investment Council invests in. And the whole purpose there is to incentivize venture capitalists to invest in companies that then come and locate in New Mexico, leveraging all of the incentives that we bring here, therefore creating jobs. You see the cycle here. However, one of the things that we were talking about, because a lot of them are from the East Coast or from California, is how difficult it is to get to New Mexico, to Albuquerque. And I started thinking, and I've talked with the City of Albuquerque Airport director on what would it take to do some experimenting. This is just my personal idea, by the way. This may or may not go anywhere. Your help here, I think it could support tourism and economic development, I think there's an incentive product called Guaranteed Income. I can't remember the incentive, but where we can ask an airline to, hey, create a flight here from Boston, an additional one from New York, from LA, or from wherever, and we just guarantee that until and to see if there is that meaningful opportunity. So that's something that's on my mind right now. I'm not sure if it's a good idea yet or not, but I wanted to make sure that there was a few minutes for questions. I'm probably much wrapped up there. I hope that was valuable to you, but if there are any questions, I am happy to take those. Oh, and also, real quick, as you guys are raising your hands, if there are any, I was told before I got here that this room was going to only be 15 to 20. Thank you all. I really appreciate you for showing up, because this looks like it's more like 90 people. So thank you. But at the department, our goal is to be accessible also. So if there are any questions at any time, you can go to our website, edd.nm.gov. My cell phone number is on there. The cabinet secretary's number is on there. Our entire team is accessible for your needs. And if you have ideas, or there's something where you think that there could be a collaboration, or you want to see more engagement, please let us know. That is critically important to us.
Actually, I would like you to go back to the very first slide that you met, because I think that's an important stat for people to know about New Mexico.
I agree. This is something, when we always hear that New Mexico is last in every metric, how about this one for a change? Number one in income growth. That is, I think, something to be proud of. And I was talking with, yeah, please. This is really what gets the secretary, myself, the rest of our team really engaged to fix this. And when the secretary is sitting in the governor's office with during the cabinet meetings, she goes one by one to each of the cabinet secretaries. Hey, what's a meaningful goal? What's a meaningful goal? And until it comes to economic development, and I'm very proud of the secretary. This was one of the metrics that he wanted to make sure that we were hitting, and we're getting there. There's still more work to do. Don't get me wrong, but we're headed in the right direction.
Hi, thank you for all that. Can you address the flights in and out of New Mexico? Is there an effort to develop more direct flights?
Yeah, there's been conversations again with the tourism department and some of the companies that we're bringing in. I'll give you a very specific example. Talking with Pacific Fusion, who's one of the companies that we recruited to New Mexico, they're so frustrated that they can't. There's not enough direct flights for them and their team to get here as they are building their $1 billion facility in Los Lunas and in Mesa del Sol. And so that is something that we're exploring. I think there's kind of 3 traditional incentives. We'll be exploring those and seeing what the opportunities are. But I imagine that there'll be tourism opportunities as well. The question was, we have a list of partner organizations for the collateral assistance program. These are lenders that are our partners. And the question is if there's room for more. The answer is yes, absolutely. On our collateral assistance website, there's actually, it's a single page, and towards the bottom, there's a link there where you can sign up. And we do have credit unions, and we're looking to add more. This is part of a larger program. This is a federal program primarily. But once we get all of the funding out, it's going to become a state program. So we anticipate this program being a permanent fixture in the economic development toolbox. And it started with $75 million to New Mexico in 3 tranches, so about $25 million each. We're about 3/4 of the way through tranche 2. We hope to get through that this fall to pull tranche 3, and that's split amongst the loan participation program, CAP, and a couple of others. But I really want more. We're actually going to be increasing our team there. We have 1 person now. We have a vacancy for a 2nd person, so I'll be reaching out to increase that and make more awareness around that. So good question. Well, thank you so much for letting me share your lunch with you, and I appreciate your time, hospitality. And again, we're here to collaborate. We're available, and I'd love to see you, and maybe you will. I won't be such a stranger next time. Thank you.